It's like, why do you think I don't want to go anywhere ever?
Yeah. See, that's a healthy perspective.
IBS.
Yeah. Well, yeah. No. That's a whole. I'm good. Yeah.
That's a healthy perspective because you'll never be disappointed.
Right. I just look at it and I just go, if I go somewhere and it's anything greater than terrible, I'm super excited.
So welcome to that cousin show where we give you all the options. You can be here or somewhere else. See? You chose to be here. So welcome.
He did it.
So anyway,
See? How did you get it? Who better than Dylan in the
ever could?
And while we're here, you guys... I can't do it.
Yeah, this is why you don't do it anymore.
You
You're
guys
fired.
should subscribe to our YouTube channel while we're here, because doing this at the end, no one gets that far. So let's just do it while we're here.
You know what I would love is
I want at least 100 views on this video.
what I would love is like a readout of Cody's vitals when he was doing that, because all of them just steady as just wouldn't budge.
Yeah.
Just peaked.
No, the opposite.
Oh,
they actually calmed down.
Yeah, absolutely.
You could go here or you could come there, and this is us.
You got options, ladies and gentlemen.
He was in the middle of a REM cycle when he said that.
What if we went through Cody's room and that sentence is just written down 100 times
It's just all over the walls.
on a million different
different fonts.
In blood.
Welcome to the show. You could be here.
So anyway, that was hilarious. What I
Right?
said. Yeah. So, Cody, what are we going to talk about today, since you led us in so well?
Well, we discussed earlier, prior to this recording, that we were going to talk about customer service.
Yeah, so we've all worked in some sort of retail job. We've all been part of customer service. So we know what this is like, but we also know how frustrating customer service can be.
Yes.
What part do we want to start with? Do you want to talk
Well,
about
I think what's so frustrating, I feel like I'm a fairly normal person, and
Quote, unquote.
and like
Wrong.
Yeah.
I feel like customer service job is easy to get right. I'm not saying it's an easy job. I'm saying that the path to doing it correctly is very clear.
You have justified all of my frustrations.
right? Like right and wrong in customer service job is very clear. There's like very little gray area.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like the people that are terrible at it, it's like, come on.
I-
Come on, guys.
I also think, too, and to look at that on the other side of the fence, which is when you are working customer service, again, it doesn't require much brain power or education to get this right, like you said. But I always had this feeling that whenever I worked retail or I had to deal with customers, I was like, I have an agreement with you, an unspoken agreement with the customer, which is I'm not going to be a jerk to you and you're not going to be a jerk to me. And we're going to work out whatever transaction we need to work out here. But we can be decent people in this regard. But as we know, human beings usually don't operate on your same wavelength all the time.
Well,
so.
and to me, it's not even, I mean, obviously there are a couple of lenses to look at this from, right? So on the one hand, you have...
One's like all big.
Dude.
One's a fish eye. One's a monocle.
So you have the a-hole or non-a-hole version of customer service.
Right.
But then you have like just sort of the competence thing. And just recently I posted on Facebook about how I've had DirecTV for almost 20 years. Mm-hmm. And I just switched to Spectrum, and I did so. We got DirecTV because it had the football package. We're never home on Sundays anymore, so it doesn't really matter. Mm-hmm. Spectrum has the Dodgers, so cool. Let's switch to Spectrum.
Yeah.
So I called Spectrum the other day because we had an issue. We were actually watching or wanting to watch the latest Game of Thrones episode.
Yeah.
And all we could get was the East Coast feed. So 9:00, right? I'm like, well, we should be able to watch this at 6. And we couldn't figure out the channel guide and whatever. So I'm like, all right, I'll call customer service. So I call customer service. I talked to the first guy. No idea what I'm talking about. I spend 25 minutes on the phone with him. And Ronnie's looking at me like, this is why I have you do this, because I would have already thrown my TV out the window and gone back to DirecTV and whatever else.
Because you're the only person that would ever have a question about Game of Thrones on the day that Game of Thrones launches.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's number one.
Yeah.
And so
I feel like you should know what I'm talking about.
no. It gets even worse. So then he transfers me somewhere else, and so he's like, oh no, this is the person that should know the answer to your question. So he gets me over to this other woman, and I explain, and she really doesn't know what I'm talking about. She goes, you know what? Let me put you on hold, and I'll get this figured out. Mm-hmm. And I have this on speaker, and I have Rondi in the room and I told her, I love you to death, and I hope nothing ever happens to you because I love you to death. But mostly, I hope nothing ever happens to you because you're my witness for all this stuff that's ever happened. Because no one will believe me. No one will believe me. This woman comes back on the phone, and her first response to me is, I don't know what Spectrum looks like. What? that is word for word. Wait, so I said, yeah.
Wait, this is the Spectrum company.
This is the Spectrum customer service rep. Well, and I told her what the problem was.
What does that mean?
And she said, that's interesting. I'm sorry you're having that problem. Let me put you on hold and figure this out. Mm-hmm. And then she came back on the phone, and her first comment was, I don't know what Spectrum looks like. and I swear to God,
you're like the light spectrum.
No. And so I said, you work for? I said, what?
Walk outside of the building, and turn around.
And she goes, well, we don't have Spectrum here. What? And I said, well, you do work for Spectrum though, right? Like you.
It turns out you're the idiot. You just
dial the wrong number.
You just mash the phone pad.
and then I started thinking, I'm like, well, do you want me to educate you about Spectrum? Because
and do I want it?
Because I have Spectrum. Yeah.
She's all, sir, do you want to order a pizza or no?
Yeah, exactly. So anyways, it was one of those things where I'm like, how can you be that bad at your job?
Yeah. Like, how did you get that job? Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, and nobody thought of this. Yeah. Like nobody thought somebody might call customer service and somebody who's never seen it before might be confused about it.
That's like going in Starbucks and being like, I want a latte, and they're like, what? Can you spell that?
A lot of what?
I don't know what you mean.
I spoke to a customer service representative the other day about bank. I'm switching banks, and I called them, of course, to get like the old answering machine, push one for.
I just imagine what a 1990 answering machine at a bank. Chase headquarters.
Yeah. Leave a message at the
There's one that the guys paid $200,000 a year to change the tape.
Yeah. Just a reel to reel.
Yeah. So I'm talking. I finally get a hold of somebody. And, we're going through the thing. I'm like, hey, I'm doing this. I'm trying to switch this account over. And they're like, okay, great. And then they do the whole, spiel that, they're just reading off a script where they were told to say this. And they were like, well, welcome to the, thank you for choosing the Chase family. Or I'm like, what do you guys, spend Christmas together? Like, what, this just seems so stupid. I'm like, hey, just get to the part where you're like, all right, buddy, I'll help you out.
Yeah.
And, it's just like, oh, okay, thank you for, I could insult you. And they're probably going to be like, oh, I just love it so much. Thank you.
Yeah.
Like, come on, man. Just talk to me like a human being. That's all I want.
Yeah. Thank you for your feedback.
Yeah.
Family always has its problems.
So not too many people know this.
We're doing a dance.
Well,
Yeah.
We have mentioned this before, but Josh, me, and Cody had the same first job. We were baggers at Albertsons, and I'd qualify that as customer service, if you will.
Oh, absolutely.
Cody was there for how many years?
4 years.
4 years. So you have to have some stories.
How long were you there?
I was there for about 11 months, less than a year.
So I was I was 2 and you were 4.
Yeah. So you have to have some stories because that is the worst of the worst. Is the first starting job.
4 years at a grocery store. There's more than you.
That's why I don't talk.
Yeah.
And I wish to God Albertsons was still there.
Oh yeah, I do too. Yeah, I did. Smart and Final.
Crappy Smart and Final.
Yeah, and they're actually putting a Dollar Tree right next.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
Cue the classical music. Yeah.
And I mean, you worked there for 11 months. You can work there for 30 days, and you have enough to have a Vietnam flashback.
Yeah. And it's always the same people.
Yeah,
you see the regulars. You're like,
absolutely.
yep, they're gonna come in here and complain.
But for 4 years, I mean, if you can, is there a worst story?
I mean, there's been so many angry people. I think there's in that environment, it was more stories about what you find in the bathroom.
Yes, yes, because that's mine. I worked there for 2 years, and mine all has to do with the bathroom.
Yeah, and
I worked at. And
it has nothing to do with the customers.
It has a lot more to do with finger painting.
Wow.
In the bathroom
with poop.
Anyways, thanks
I get it.
Thanks for tuning in, guys.
With poop.
I thought I had to clarify.
No, I remember, my first horror story working at Albertsons, my first job, was like having to go in. So I don't know if most grocery stores work like this. I assume they do something like this, which is you break your shift up into hours, and those hours are broken up into you're either bagging groceries, you're out pushing in carts, or you're like sweeping, whatever.
Yeah.
Or you have to clean the bathrooms, and it was like my hour on bathrooms, and this old man had gone in, and it's one of like the end. You don't understand how the end result came about. You're like, dude, this guy was like a sprinkler head. Like he did like a breakdance head spin with his pants off, and just coated the entire bathroom. Yeah. Like I couldn't do that if I had 30 butts.
Which you kind of do.
It was like a firework of application.
Yes. And it was.
You gotta try hard to do that.
Yeah, no, I couldn't. No matter how hard I try, I can't do it. So
he obviously went in the middle of the room and laid a firecracker in the pile.
Yes. No, but that's how it seems. And so I remember going in and like you just. You could have won the lottery. You could have had the best luck ever in life. But when you walk into that bathroom and it's your hour on bathroom duty, it's just, of course.
Yeah.
Just my luck.
It's like the start of your shift.
Joel, did you ever work at the grocery store?
No.
Okay.
My first 4 jobs was customer service. I worked at Hollister, just retail.
Okay.
Pure
Which
retail.
was, but that was like the easiest job in the world.
Video store is the
why
easiest
is
job
that?
in the world.
Video store was just as easy, but being a waiter was much more difficult. You deal with.
Where were you a waiter at?
BJ's.
I was a waiter at
That's
BJ's.
That's right.
And
That's right.
different the Tower Club.
That's
The Tower
right.
Club.
I forgot about
okay.
that.
I didn't know
And the Tower Club was like a high-end, expensive place.
Yeah,
So
been there many times.
The complaints were just ridiculous. Definitely not. There's crap all over the bathroom. It's more like my water is half
Joel's
empty.
trying to convince us that the Tower Club's different than Albertsons. Whatever.
No, the
uphill battle.
Albertsons bathroom.
Yeah.
But especially at BJ's, you just deal with people who just feel like when they walk into a restaurant, they own the restaurant.
Yeah,
and they own you for some reason.
Yeah. And I feel like that's a really good gauge. We were talking earlier about relationships and whatnot. That is a very good gauge, I think, for what you should think about somebody. When you go into a restaurant, I embarrassingly but thank the wait staff. They're okay, dude, you've said thank you 150 times. Relax. Yeah. I can't stop saying thank you enough. I want to be cool. I don't want you to think I'm a jerk or whatever. And then it's you see people go in there and they just they treat people like indentured servants. You're what is wrong with you?
Yeah. Right.
It's
you're they're like anybody else, just doing their job, just like you do your job wherever you work.
Right.
And it's I'm just trying to get you food, and for some reason you're making me seem like I just murdered your father 10 minutes
right.
ago.
Right.
Well, it's what I said before. It's we have an unspoken agreement. It's I won't be a jerk to you. You don't have to be a jerk to me. There's nowhere in this for some reason the customer feels as if they are somehow
entitled.
It's I don't know what that is, and I'm who told you that was the case? And this whole motto, the customer's always right. I'm whoever came with the motto is stupid. I completely disagree with them. No, they're not always right. They're the moon's made of cheese. Well, they're obviously not correct. Am I going to agree with them? That's a stupid statement.
Not only that, but it's
you won't take it the money.
You're charged with bringing me food from a room I can't see.
I don't have access to.
Right. It's I'm going to be as nice to you as I possibly can.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
So I one of my first managers in sales, we would leave to get lunch together, and whenever we would go through a drive-through, which is when you are most vulnerable to that, the food behind the wall, and it would drive me
Game of
crazy.
Thrones reference.
Yeah, drive me crazy that he would never say thank you never say please or anything to the drive-through, whatever. And I'd be like, one, regardless of food or no food, like were you raised in a barn? And then number two, like, if anyone's going to spit in your food, it's a fast food worker. Mm-hmm. And in a situation where there's no risk of us seeing them. And it would make me so paranoid. And I just remember being in the passenger seat and always just like finishing his sentences over his shoulder. Please. Thank you. Because it's my food too.
Yeah, right.
But I just remember thinking, like, what about your upbringing produced this horrible person in front of you?
Well, also, like, what do you think the outcome, like, what do you expect the outcome to be treating somebody like that, like crap to be, especially somebody, you know, dealing, like, handling your food. Like, you understand they're human, they're going to get frustrated,
yes, and
some of them are going to make you pay for it, whether you know it or not.
Yes.
No, you're right, and I think, you know, I at least my mentality of that is like, I want the best possible experience here that I can get. And the nicer I am to you, the greater the likelihood that that's going to happen.
Yeah. Yes.
Right. And so, you know, you want somebody to go, hey, look, this guy's a pretty cool guy. I'll go the extra mile. I'll bring him this, or I'll do this, or I'll pay extra attention. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, exactly.
Just make it rain croutons all the time.
Yeah.
He gets an extra Happy Meal toy.
Yeah.
Whatever. And so, you know, it requires very little
effort
at all, you know? Like,
but
all you got to do is be kind of cool. That's it.
But that, I was going to say this earlier, which is that behavior is rarely confined to those circumstances. The person who's rude to the waitstaff is not an angel outside of that scenario.
Right.
But what that means is, like, that same person is going to leave BJ's being like, our waiter's an asshole.
Right.
Because they just don't understand that they're doing it to themselves.
Right.
Like they're the same person who's always victimized by their boss.
Yeah, they're creating.
But whoever's
they're
married to that person should never divorce them.
According to your philosophy. So no, this actually reminds me of a just general pet peeve I have, which is and how egregious this is, I'm amazed at how often it happens. This is not an outlier case. You guys tell me your experience, which is holding the door open for someone and them not saying anything.
Oh yeah, that's happened.
Yes, no, it happens for how egregious.
I don't know what you're talking about next.
I'll try harder.
Do your best.
No. For how egregious it is, it happens like a good percentage of the time. I feel like.
Vast majority of the time.
Yeah, like, but to me, not being overly polite or just baseline polite to waitstaff, it is like absolute above and beyond Mother Teresa behavior compared to thanking someone who held the door open for you.
If it's my fiance and she doesn't say anything, I usually grab her by the arm. I'm like, what the hell was that all about? You say thank
Until
you to
it bruises.
me. Yeah, no, I know what you mean. That's something to where it's just blatant,
Well,
like, disrespectful. Kind of, you're like, well, I just did you a favor. Like,
but again, compared to waitstaff, it's like, well, I can make the argument that you're just like, you're paid to do this. You have to do this. Mm-hmm. Like, no matter if I'm nice or mean, you have to be doing this for me.
Yeah.
When you hold the door open for somebody, especially if they're not like on your heels, but you see them coming and maybe they're holding stuff and you wait and hold it open. That is 100. You're not paid to do it. That is 100% just good behavior. You're being polite, a good Samaritan. And for that person to just walk through and not acknowledge it, to me, is the ultimate like red flag as far as humans go.
I'm gonna throw a curveball at you.
I don't like it.
What?
Throw it slow.
What happens when you go to a restaurant and you just get a waiter or waitress that is terrible and rude and like not paying attention to you? Are you still overly nice? Are you what? Like,
yeah,
what?
it's a conundrum.
It is a conundrum because you have
it's a risk either way.
Yep.
So
risky business.
I'll chime in. You know, as being experienced as being a waiter. If I get a really crappy waiter and like being a waiter, you know whether they're crappy or they're super busy, right? Because
Yeah.
you can have bad service, but it's because like the place is just swamped and
Yeah.
they just like can't get to your table.
And
Yeah.
so called out, blah blah blah.
Right. So I always try to identify, okay, like, is this person swamped, or are they just standing talking to another waiter and just not looking at us for, you know, the last half an hour? If it is the latter, I won't be mean to them or anything. It'll definitely affect their tip, which is like what they work for anyway. That's like basically their paycheck. So that's probably the best, you know, way to
Feedback,
get back
yeah.
at them. But if it's so bad where it's like, you know, affecting my experience, you know, if I've sat down for 30 minutes and like we haven't even ordered food yet and like they're just standing over there doing nothing, then yeah, I would just get the manager involved, because the manager is going to hound on them either way
Well, and if
and
they're
make their night terrible.
and if they're a good manager, they thank you for telling them.
Yeah.
So this
And it probably won't be the first time that waiter has had
yeah.
Yeah,
you know, complaint against them.
If anything, they're looking for fodder
Yeah.
to make
they're
a
looking for
change.
their father.
Their father.
Lack of awareness is a problem.
It
It is a problem.
Yeah.
I
and-
want to
and-
follow those people home.
That could be that could be the problem.
Yeah.
No, I think you're right.
It's a source of many problems.
I think everything stems from that problem.
Yeah.
I hate, speaking of lack, and to go even further, like lack awareness sucks, but it's just like dumb people being dumb. What I hate even more, and I don't know, I don't remember experiencing this as much in California, but here in Seattle, for some reason, people just love to jaywalk like all the time. And I hate and
The
the
idea
problem
of people loving to jaywalk is funny.
they love it. They'll go.
They don't
out
even
on
have to
on
cross the street.
Saturday morning, all hyped.
So you got lots of Hell's Angels out there.
Yeah. And
Hails Angels.
they will, when they jaywalk, like it's almost like they like time it out so that you have to stop for them. And
Weirdest town.
yeah, and they know that you're stopped. Like it's in a busy road, and they don't even look to like acknowledge like thank you for stopping. It's just look down to their feet and keep walking kind of thing. And it's like, what are you doing? Like there's no cars behind me. Wait until I pass and then run across. Like what are you doing? I don't understand it. And that's not a lack of awareness. That is like actively
That is
actively
hyper
trying to
awareness.
annoy you.
Yeah.
And you're lucky if they run.
Right.
But that to me, like if that's like my Howard Hughes life. Like if I had so much money, I could just be as weird and eccentric as I possibly wanted to be. It would be stopping those people and asking those questions.
No, but what Joel's saying is all the people that jaywalk in Seattle have as much money as Howard Hughes.
Yeah, that was my point.
Yeah.
That's what I gathered from that conversation.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, they have
You just have like
I want to build a horn that when I honk it, it permanently damages their hearing.
yeah. That game's called Spy Hunter.
Dude, that reminds me of that skit. When I sent it to you, it became one of your favorites, which is that it's not Jackie Chan.
Oh yeah.
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 Classic.
Just Jackie Chan. Yeah, there's I know we've kind of talked about this before, is one of my pet peeves, and it's not uncommon. It's parents who have very little awareness of what their like little kid is doing and making a bunch of noise. Now, I'm not a parent. I haven't been in that situation. I know the first critique of people complaining about this is wait till you have kids, then you'll know.
No,
for the two people here that have kids, I'm sure you can vouch for me when I say that, like, I can understand you're overwhelmed sometimes and you're frustrated.
I
and
don't
you've
buy
had
it.
Yeah.
Nope, I don't buy it. No. Other kids still to this day drive me absolutely up the wall when parents don't give a crap.
Yeah, they just gave up. And I'm like, listen, you might have given up, but I didn't.
Yeah,
That is your problem.
no, that is horrible.
Well,
That's horrible.
we've had people come up to us many times and compliment us on how well behaved our kids are.
Our parents had people compliment them about us all the time. because our dad was a Nazi about this.
Yeah.
Our dad.
I didn't know if he was joking or not.
No. Okay. No.
Your dad's from
yeah.
Germany?
Yeah. So
Yeah. He was in the SS.
yeah. And so I'd like to believe that that's not just a total accident.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're totally right. It's you, and again, this goes back to all the conversation we've had prior to this, which is, people come in all shapes and sizes and cognitive abilities and whatever, and yeah, I mean, there's a expected, behavior in certain
Baseline.
circumstances, and you have to adhere to that. And then there are people who don't care about that stuff.
So I went to we went to the movies, and we went and saw Captain Marvel, right? And we don't really go to the movies that often, but we were just like, okay, babies with grandparents, let's have a night out, right?
Yeah.
Go enjoy a movie. The theater's fairly full, but the few rows in the front, there's one family in the
all
left
it takes,
corner
yeah.
of those rows, right? And they have probably a 1-year-old still crawling.
Ugh, yeah.
Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
So, okay, whatever. Could be a well-behaved, baby. So we're watching the movie. Baby cries once. Okay, I'll give him that.
Happens.
Yeah. Baby cries twice. And then I see, it's like a family of 4, and I see the dad or somebody who is taking care of the child literally pick the child up and place the child in the aisle and just continue watching the movie. Let the child just
Run around.
crawl around the aisle.
Yeah.
Child falls,
Which
cries again.
That alone is really? You're going to let your kid just crawl on the movie theater floor?
No, it literally got to the point where it was unbelievable. And eventually they got kicked out. The people came in and kicked them out. But it's what are you thinking?
Yeah.
One, why are you bringing a baby to this movie? Mm-hmm. And why not just walk the baby out into the hallway?
Yeah. Again, I don't understand, why was the priority we have to see the movie?
Yeah. Yeah. This is such a high priority.
Yeah. And disregard any common sense or
Yeah.
consideration for other people around us that we had to see Captain Marvel at this time.
Right.
Yeah.
We couldn't get a babysitter or
They
wait
were
for it to
super
come out
self-aware
on DVD.
and they're real apologetic, but sorry, we got to be here.
Yeah, that was the priority.
I had a similar story. Anissa and I went to see Us, the horror scary movie, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We saw it on opening night, and it was a popular movie, so the theater was pretty much packed. We're sitting down, and the movie starts, and this family of 4 or 5 sit next to us, kind of late when the movie kind of starts, and they're kind of loud coming in, probably just trying to find their seats, whatever. We're just trying to ignore them. They continue just to talk to themselves, all through the whole movie. And not just not whispering, literally talking over the movie so they can hear each other talk.
That pesky movie kept getting in the way.
To the point where they are multiple people are shushing them. The most cliche movie bad movie experience you can have. To the point where if anybody doesn't know that's bad culture, how do you not know that? and secondly, kind of to your point, who comes to a movie wanting to talk?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why did we come in the situation this is what we came here to do, was to talk?
Yeah, you're paying money to come in a dark theater with a whole bunch of people who don't want to hear you talk, and you're just talking to each other.
I'll add to that group of people. It's the neighbors that let their dogs bark incessantly.
Yes.
Those people can just go straight down to the
Yes.
seventh
So
circle of hell.
before I moved to LA the last time, I lived in that house that was down whatever track. And my neighbor had a barking. I was about to say a darking bog, which is the worst.
Yeah, that's the worst kind of
a barking dog, and I left a note on their door, hey, you need to not have this happen anymore. And like a month passed, and it kind of happened intermittently, and I just kind of put up with it. And then about like a month and a half later, I'm pulling out of my garage, and I look in my rearview mirror, and there's this middle-aged woman who has what looks like hay for
Hay for hair.
She looks like she's got hay for hair. But what I mean is like she's just like a.
He was watching
she's
Wizard
like
of Oz.
she's such a horrible person that like her attitude extended to her scalp.
Her physical appearance.
Yes, like it was like that frazzled, frayed, bleach blonde, just scarecrow hair, and just bags, and just like bloated, and just standing in my driveway, staring in my rearview mirror. And I'd never seen this person before, so I tried to just gun it in reverse and take her out. So I stop and I open my door. I'm like, "Can I help you?" And she's holding a note. And it's not the note that I left in her door.
Said, "Will you marry me?"
Yeah. I'm like, "Get in here. We're going to work.
We're going straight to the chapel.
Yeah. We're never getting divorced." So, no, she's holding a note. And she was like, "Are you complaining about my dog?" And she's like waving this note in my face. It's not my note. It's like a different note. And I'm like, if you're asking if I wrote that note, the answer is no. But I wrote the first one you got. Or what I'm assuming is not the first one, but I'm like, I wrote the one before that.
I do hate your dog.
Yeah, and she was like, "Well, until you moved in, no one ever complained." I'm like, "Are you saying that I changed my handwriting to like fool you into thinking more people are complaining, or do you think I went over and convinced your neighbors
Yeah.
to complain about your dog?"
Yeah. Or
I'm
you're
like-
a terrible person.
Yeah, I'm like, either way, it points to more than just me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, the other alternative is I'm making this up.
Yeah.
Because I don't want you to own a pet.
Right.
But I could just tell by looking at her face that again, it's the same person who brings the baby into the whatever, or stands at the register after they've ordered.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I might as well be arguing with a drunk person.
Yep.
Yeah.
Not a F.
And the only solution is just just a stiletto between the ribs.
A stiletto.
And it's
We
going
always have
lightly.
those on
Oddest
hand.
weapon.
Yeah.
Well, you know what's funny is that's what. There's a lot of conversations between Rondi and I that start with, and she'll start with, "Can you believe that?" ... And my answer is always, yes. I can.
100%. Yeah.
I mean, there's just nothing that surprises you anymore.
Right.
It's like she loses her mind about like what people are capable of, and I'm like, I'm not surprised at all.
Yeah,
I
unfortunately.
expected this. It's like, why do you think I don't want to go anywhere ever?
Yeah. See, that's a healthy perspective.
IBS.
Yeah. Well, yeah. No.
That's a whole
I'm good. Yeah.
That's a healthy perspective because you'll never be disappointed. by
Right.
anything.
I just look at it and I just go, anything. If I go somewhere and it's anything greater than terrible, I'm super excited.
That's awesome. What I just want to know is what led to the intermittent silence that happened with you. Because you were absent from the podcast for about 10 minutes.
Well, I'm just
Listening.
you were filibustering. You and Cody were filibustering.
Yeah.
You have my vote.
No, so this, yeah, that's the only prerequisite. Someone who filibusters. So
Yeah.
you got my vote.
I was trying not to vomit.
Yeah. So no. So this is something that like a new. You guys tell me what you think. A new thing I've developed or tried to develop.
Alcoholism.
That's not new,
Yes.
and I'm not trying to develop anything.
Success.
Success. I don't know why I have to be effeminate. But success.
Achieved that goal a long time ago.
Yeah. So what we're all talking about are these frustrations at what we all agree are bound to happen as a part of being a human. So, what is the one real solution? Which is controlling your reaction to it, right? All right. So, meditation is like something you like is always like, I feel like for our family at least, is something that was like a subject that's on the periphery, right? Not something that like is in our wheelhouse.
Letting those demons in your brain.
Dad?
He put it so eloquently.
Yeah, but I feel like that's the only alternative.
So I hear what you're saying, but I think going back to the situation I brought up before, which with the woman that told me that she doesn't know what spectrum looks like when she worked for. It's like there's a part of me.
That's like an outlier of an outlier.
There's a part of me, and I swear to God,
Who enjoys being
I have
mad.
a witness. That is exactly the word she said. There's a part of me that it's incredibly frustrated by that, and there's a part of me that's kind of excited that happened.
Because you get to be angry.
Yeah, because I'm like, this is just absolutely glorious.
Yeah.
Like there's no way this could be happening.
You don't want
It's
Pleasantville.
so it's like part of you might need meditation, and part of you is like, I'm almost a little bit happy this happened.
But why? Because there's a couple reasons you could be happy.
Okay, so part of the reason is because I never expected this to go very well in the first place, right?
At least it's fun.
And so if the alternative was you called and within the first 30 seconds of your phone call we fix your problem, I would be like, yeah, I'll take that option. But the alternative is normally like you'll eventually come to some barely satisfying conclusion of whatever request you had, right? And I'm like, and it's like, okay, well that was whatever. Like, there's no fun in that. I mean, I found Game of Thrones at 6:00, like next week.
I think
Whatever.
It's not a podcast
Or I can be like, you just told me you don't know anything about
The company
the place that you're employed by, and I can look at Ronnie and go, "Oh my God, did you hear what she just said?" Right? And it's like it's kind of glorious.
See, I think Matt just used logic to meditate and like transcend.
Yeah, that was your own meditation.
It's in the moment meditation.
Yeah, he's like transcended.
Yes.
The whole experience.
No, he has emotionally jujitsu'd himself
Yes.
into submission.
I mean, if you guys, honestly, like every like Saturday when we don't have softball, I climb to the top of 2 trees and I just sit like this and I just like,
Yeah, and just customer service.
And I just call Spectrum. Yeah.
It's funny because if you actually Google Earth 2 trees, you can see.
Yeah, you can. You see the bald spot right here?
Yeah. I wasn't gonna say anything. But.
Yeah.
No, it's that reminds me. I got maybe a year ago. I drove to Ventura, living in LA, drove to Ventura, and I was gonna meet Mom and Nicole, our sister, and a couple others at Yolanda's. And this is before Yolanda's in Ventura, Mexican food restaurant, was under construction. And so to everyone in the area, they all knew that meant in this town over, Camarillo. I didn't know that. And so I show up at Yolanda's in Ventura from the text message that Mom had sent me. And I arrive to a building that's just boarded up. And I arrive and the anger is beginning to build. And I call Mom, and I'm like, well, I doubt you're in there because it's boarded up. So, did you mean the other one? You didn't tell me? And she was like, I think I told you. Like, I'm sorry, I'm not sure, whatever. And she told me. So, I literally, from when I hung up, had planned on how angry I was gonna be on the drive over, and how and this whole like rant I was gonna have when I arrived, until I looked at the text message and she said Yolanda's in Camarillo, and I was disappointed that I couldn't be angry anymore.
Yes.
I'm like, you robbed me of my anger.
Right. Yes.
But I just it's one of those moments where you catch yourself being a horrible person.
Well, and what's so funny is there was a similar situation. I think I might have explained this to you at some point, but you know, I think
maybe you did, so we probably shouldn't tell it.
Okay. No, so I think we all sort of suffer from some degree of like guilt about like how much you communicate with your parents, your family, whatever. I mean, it's like I live within 5 minutes of my mom and my dad. And it's like I'm so busy I don't barely even see him, whatever. So, you know, and then sometimes you're like, well, I called you last time and you never call me, and you start going through these weird things in your head. And I remember, you know, Cammie always plays way far out of town for softball. So I get it. You're not going to drive to Fontana at 4:00 in the morning on Sunday to go see her play. But it's like, you know, Jake had some band performance thing, and it was like, hey, look, I'm going to let, and if you don't tell your family about it, they're going to
be mad.
They're going to be mad, or they're going to feign anger.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, whatever. And so I'm like, I'm going to tell them what's going on, and I'm going to give them a perfect opportunity to show up to this thing. So then I call and I was like, hey, by the way, are you coming out to the, and I was talking to Dad, and Dad's response was, and this is one of those things where it's sort of like liberating. Dad's response was, well, we ordered a red box. we rented a red box video, and it's due back.
Dude, it's not even funny.
You sure? Take a drink so you can spit it out.
Dude, he's so senile. He's obviously senile.
He's like, well, the red box we ordered is due back tonight, so
Stop.
I'm not sure what I can do. I swear to God. And I was like, so you're sort of caught between. Am I frustrated that you said that, or am I glad I never have to ask you again?
Yeah.
You know,
This is it.
Right? So I'm like, I never have to ask you anything ever again. I love that. I'm so liberating.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, yeah, that's how that works then.
Have you ever had to return a red box?
Blockbuster Video outweighed your grandson.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm like, well, that's perfect, because now the next time, now I actually hope you complain about the fact I didn't tell you about something, so I can remind you that this happened.
Yeah.
Right. You have ammo for the next conversation.
Oh, we got it.
Well, to me, in those situations, what I hate the most is the insult to your intelligence.
I don't hate that at all.
I'm
perfectly fine with it.
No, because to me, it's like, dude, I would rather have you tell me you don't want to go than maybe hope that I'm dumb enough to believe that this is the actual excuse.
Right.
Like, dude.
No. See, I think you're wrong. I think that was
legitimate.
It was legit.
Yeah,
Well,
I think it was like.
but that is.
What do you expect me to do, Matt?
Well, that's exclusive to our dad.
You know how much a red box costs? Yeah,
Do you know when they close?
Exactly.
Yeah, I think that is a exclusive thing.
That's
to your
not.
dad.
Yeah,
You're absolutely right.
that's not.
He's like, if I take this back, it was due back tonight. If I take it back tomorrow and I drop it in the machine, the sirens go off. The attack dogs come. Yeah. So anyways, whatever.
Oh man, that's amazing.
This is Doberman's.
That is amazing.
nowhere.
Yeah, it was great. And I
Is
was just
Redbox even still
like,
available?
I'd have to ask you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess.
All over the place.
Yeah.
Every
People
grocery
use
store.
DVDs still.
I think it's Redbox is either for videos or it's like a urinal for homeless people. one or the other, or both.
That's actually the only video I rent.
The urinal watch.
Is homeless people urinating in the Redbox.
Oh, jeez. All right, I think we're out of time. But thanks, Matt, for stopping by.
Again?
We'll do this again sometime, having us all here in the same room. We'll make this a frequent thing if we can, maybe. I don't know. It's kind of a task trying
I
to
live
coordinate
kinda
your.
far.
It's kind of your. Well, I think your schedule is the hardest part. Because
Yeah.
we usually do this on the weekends. We're like, all right, I guess Matt's not available on the weekends. So.
You know what would be actually so I will say this, and maybe someone who listens out there in the world of the internets will say, yeah, I want to hear that, which is I would love for Matt and Rondi to be on the podcast.
Oh man, I even mentioned that to Matt, and he said it's kind of a long shot.
But it is a long shot, but like everything worth it is.
Yes,
Yeah.
I would love to have Matt. And
No,
Rondi.
I completely understand from your perspective how that would be.
I know.
For mine, it would be, I'd be so scared.
It's on record.
Yeah.
I'd love to have Rondi.
Like, dude,
Josh has some burning questions in his pocket
oh,
already.
absolutely. Well, and we all know that podcast would end up being an exhibit in a court case.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, Ron, it's like right now, I don't think there's a lot of people that understand how much more mature Rondi is than I am, and I don't want to.
You don't want to.
I don't want to prove it to everybody. Yeah.
You don't need people convincing Rondi
that's
that maybe
my
she
reluct-
should divorce you.
That's my reluctance.
You know what? That whole podcast would be if from Rondi's perspective would be.
This is what I've been saying.
Yeah.
Or it would be her making like the slightest funny thing and me just cracking up for like 10 minutes.
Out of fear.
Yeah, out of fear. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Anyway.
Well, so if one person, even if it's someone in this room, comments on the video saying, "Yeah, I want to see that," then it's got to happen.
You can edit this out, right?
No, I'd say, now I'm gonna edit this one section and make it its own video.
Damn it. Oh my God, he's gonna like, tag Rondi and everything.
Yes.
I'm in trouble.
Oh no, you know what? Just tag her family. I bet they want to see it.
There you go.
Just put it in Redbox.
Yeah.
Burn it to a DVD.
Yeah.
Rent
My,
it out
my
for
dad's
Redbox.
all, I don't know, I got some
Dad
video of
wouldn't even
Rondi. I can't
react.
come to the video.
Just,
All right.
Whatever.
Anyway, thank you guys for watching. Subscribe to our YouTube channel if you guys are watching there. But if you don't want to do that, then follow us on all our social media accounts like Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. But if not, just come back next week for another episode. And until then, have a good week.
Goodbye, see you!